Good day, everyone. Welcome back. This is Carol Laura Muhlari, right here on your favorite show called Divine Woman Empowerment Inspirational Talk, clearly on our favorite TV channel, which is Global Conference Television. Thank you so much for joining us once again for an amazing show. And today we're having a doctor in studio, Dr. Galada. I hope I say her name properly because I've been trying to practice the surname, and it's been a bit of a mission, but it was fun. So I would like to welcome the doctor, since we are in the medical field, we're in the bioscience. We just want to know, what does it take for us women to get into this field, because everyone has a passion and everyone has a vision. So she's going to let us into her journey of how she got into the bioscience and how she became a doctor at such an amazing young age, which she is young. Welcome, doctor, to Divine Woman Empowerment Inspirational Talk. Please do introduce yourself. Where you from? What is the doc all about? Can I come for some checkups, or what do I need to study? But so yeah.
Thanks, Carol. As you have said, my name is Ncebakazi Galada, all the way from El-Siksiki, Eastern Cape. Yes, I'm Sanjay.
Hey, I'm learning Xhosa today.
So how I got to be a doctor, as you know, with the communities that we're coming from, right. It's always, we emphasize that no, you must be a doctor or you must be a lawyer. So for me, not so passionate about law. Science was the most intriguing part. So I did my high school subject on biology and science and maths, which then at the time, the only thing close to science was being a doctor. And my mom also, I believe that she had influence, because she kept on saying, I'm going to be a staff nurse. So I thought, no, I can't be a nurse. I need to be a doctor. So to me, I wanted to do more than what she wanted me to be. So fast forward, I got to university. I tried to enroll for a doctorate. Unfortunately, my grades did not allow me. So I ended up on biosciences. So I continued on the stream of microbiology. I continued with my postgraduate studies on biotechnology. I did my honors. I was encouraged to go further. I did my master's, and it led to a PhD, which now you are able to call me a doctor. So it was through that push from my mother, through the opportunities I had. Fortunately for me, after I finished my undergraduate, I had bursary opportunities to study further. So I was thinking, why not? Because as you know, from our underprivileged communities, finances are always a challenge. So even when I finished, I struggled most financially on my undergraduate. But by the grace of God, when I finished my undergraduate, there were bursary opportunities. I told myself, you know what, I'm still young. These are the opportunities that I never had before, that I never even thought, because I thought, okay, after finishing my first degree, I'll just go look for a job, which probably it was just going to land me in a lab environment, maybe just being a lab technician, testing some sample, in the hospitals when they take your samples to maybe for TB. So I was probably going to just do that, go test someone's sputum, which I don't think it's a nice thing to do, but someone has to do it. So opportunities presented themselves one after another, and I took advantage of those, and here I am today.
So you're in the
in the bioscience space, and more with the specialty on biotechnology.
Wow.
Yes.
And how long did you study for?
My undergrad, it took me 4 years. But you can be able to finish it in 3 years. There are 3 BSc. It's called Bachelor of Science. Right. So you can have it for 3 years or for 4 years. 4 years, it sometimes includes your honors degree. But some you get your undergraduate just for 3 years or for 4 years. So I did mine for 4 years. Then that was at the University of Free State. From there, I moved to Cape Town at the University of the Western Cape, where I enrolled for my honors degree. In fact, it was really, maybe let me just share this testimony. When I finished my undergrad, the average for you to go for honors was 60%.
Wow.
I think I was falling, according to my calculation, I was falling below the margin of 60%, just slightly. But I had the determination that I wanted to do my postgraduate. When I got to Western Cape, a friend of mine, Utabita, who's my best friend all the way from high school, introduced me to, come try. In fact, I wanted to go to UCT. UCT standard, they're very high, and I was falling below their average. So they're like, no, you are below average, we won't be able to take you. My friend insisted, no man, come and try at UWC. She introduced me to this other professor, Professor Chris Gehring, I won't forget him. So Prof took my statements and then he calculated, wow, we have such a great student. I was shocked, great student, because according to me, I was falling below average. According to him, I was above average. So that's how I got in to the honors program, which took me a year.
Wow.
So just for honors, it's kind of, it introduces you to now more research work where you are able to demonstrate that you can conduct research independently. That was for me very exciting because I was for the first time now able to conduct experiments on my own, able maybe to plan my own research program and all that. Just before I finished it, my supervisor was like, look, if you're interested in doing your master's, I have a space for you, so you can. And I was thinking, no, at home, they're struggling. I need to go and start to work. And my mom also was on my case that, no, when are you going to finish studying? You know how they are. And also my lab mates were like, no man, just do your PhD, you'll be amazed of the opportunities. So I was caught up in that,
in between
the demands, yes,
and following what you currently be doing. Because, sorry to break, I know it gets to that point whereby you reach to a certain level in your career, in your study, and now you have to, for example, I studied business management straight out of high school. I also thought, okay, I'm going to be chilling for a while at home and get into the job space and
see how
it goes in. But I've always been I wanted to become a singer. And I am going to have my single out.
Wow.
Because it's not too late.
We'll be waiting for it.
No, definitely. I was actually saying to one of the guys who plays the harp, Denzel, that I want him to assist me with my songwriting and with music because it's still in me. Because when we are small, we know exactly we've got this burning passion
where you want
to be.
And so even the seed God has planted.
It's planted. So in me, from a young age, He planted music. He planted music. He planted. I always wanted to be on the TV and that. So already at the age of 9, I had my first TV appearances. Here we are hosting my own show. So I had to get into that, but because the family from my mom's side is business,
had a different view.
They had a different view, and it's a business orientated. So I went into business management straight out of high school, and I was like, okay, maybe this will, move along. And then from business, I went into marketing. But I kid you not, throughout that time, I was working, but the pressure was much. The pressure was hectic because in money and this, you need to do that, you need to do that. So I feel you when you say that because at the end of the day, you don't know whether you're coming or going. But I stayed true to myself. While I was studying business management, I graduated and I went into marketing, national diploma marketing, and then I was still continuing with my media things, and that's how when I decided, let me launch my events because I'm creative with creating with events and stuff like that. And still, I am still pursuing to do my singing, and now whenever every opportunity that I get, I can do it. I perform. So our path sometimes. Not everyone gets that grace, but it is very high possible where no matter what.
And sometimes it's not a straightforward road.
But it still meets. We still meet at that point where you want to be, and I think it's what you're persistent. You being persistent about it. That you are where you are right now.
That's true.
You wanted to be in medical, but God gave something else. But it's still in the field.
It's still where I could even enjoy. Because sometimes we're quick to listen the voice as what the community is directing, what the society thinks you should be, and
you find it's them that are not even there.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people waste so much time, even at varsity, doing what parents are viewing them to be, or what, because you are a child of so and so, you should study theology, because your father is a pastor, you should study theology or ministry and all that, all to find that God has got a different destiny for you. But anyway, from the honors program, as you were asking, so that took me 1 year. Master's program took me 2 years. The PhD program took me forever. It took me, I think, about 5 years.
And how old are you, my
I'm 37.
37. So you've been in the books
For almost all my life.
You like my sister. I'll be like, I'll get you there.
Yeah. But I think for me, in fact, everyone kept on saying that, but when you haven't lived, you've been at school. But I believe if that's the journey God had to,
Yes.
because even through that process, I saw God at work in my life. Because even at varsity, it was not just school. We were involved in ministry. I was telling Shoni that through the campus ministries, I was actively involved in campus ministries to the point where we even established our Church Rafa Fellowship Center campus ministry, which is growing and is continuous since then. I think it was around 2007. It's available most of the academic institutions in the Western Cape. You'll find it there. It's now called Rafa on campus. So sometimes God will place you in situations where now you think it's only for me to be here and study or me to be here to work. But God has a bigger plan. So 5 years after then the PhD, I moved to Gauteng, where I pursued my career. I'm currently working at the Department of Science and Technology, where I'm the Deputy Director in Biosciences, still but under Industry and Environment. So I moved out of the research environment, but now I'm applying that now to support other researchers, but from a governance point of view.
Wow. That is amazing. At the age of 37, you were in the Department of Science.
Yes, but I feel I'm old, eh?
Girl, please sit down.
I'm resting.
You are not old.
Is
You
it?
ambition. You are thriving. You are moving.
Thank you.
I can't say Mama made it, but at this point in time, I can say to you, you've made it. Because at this age, how many women are still stuck? That are still at the they are still stuck. So I salute you. I salute God that has given you the energy to pursue, and not only pursue, but to pursue His will.
Yes.
Because now you have opened up many other doors within the campus. Because it's hectic what's happening in the campus.
True.
You are now the vessel in that campus that He's using to bring direction.
Yeah.
So that the generation that is raising up right now, you are actually part of his generation that He's using to raise up His army, so that this mindset are opening. So best believe that you are going to be here and not going to be long where you are right now, because you're going to move to going to move to the next level, because what God is busy doing right now is that He's busy laying the foundation where you are right now, so that you can move to the next level.
Yeah.
And to the next level, because you are going to go back to Eastern Cape to go and establish something different there. Sometimes we are in a place where we are being caged in that area. So you had to take you out of that land to bring into a foreign land for you to experience. So when you're done with the training where you are right now, He's going to send you back to go and establish, to go and bring forth what you know now.
Yes.
I mean, to be at the age of 37 to say you're a doctor in this field, in a direction ship. You're gone.
Amen.
And you keep in focus.
It can only be the grace. Yeah.
You can only keep in focus.
Amen.
Is there any other things besides the medical, the bio thing that you do? Speaking engagement, do engagement with females and with young people and so forth?
Yes, I'm sure you might have seen on my profile, youth empowerment is one of the things I'm very much passionate about. I'm involved in mostly rural communities, especially back home. We have a program where because I'm a science person, so I don't want the doctor to only be Ncebakazi Galada, but I also want to be other doctors that will be born out of the next generation. So we kind of activating the young people in rural communities to say, look, science it's not only for the people in urban areas, but scientists can be born out of the dust of the rural village. We're encouraging learners in different fields, not just science, but also just social upliftment, where if you've been in a rural setting, not just little girls, it's such a sad picture. I mean, you come from the lights of the studio, you cross the borders, it's a totally different story.
It is.
So for us then, where we're saying that even before you can encourage that young girl or that young boy to pursue a certain career, but there's certain things that needs to be dealt with because this young person is coming from a very much humble communities or families where some of them maybe they might have been told certain negative things that they will not mount to anything. So by the time they walk out of their house, they're already discouraged. They're just going there because everyone is going there. They don't see the brighter future. So sometimes we need then to say, okay, fine, while we're introducing science, but how do we then build the person? How then do we revitalize that self-esteem? So those are some of the programs I'm involved with. So even in ministry, I'm involved in ministry. So when I get opportunities maybe to minister in certain maybe youth settings, I do that. I think also because I've been part of the kind of government support system. So sometimes when they have activities for the youth, for example, the Department of Agriculture sponsored part of my studies. So when they have maybe some youth day events, you are maybe called to come and encourage the youth to say, how do you get where you are? How can we also get other young people to follow after your career? So those are some of the opportunities I enjoy doing. And also while you also get that opportunity, you won't want to miss on the time to introduce Jesus Christ to the people. Even if you win one soul, to me, I believe that heaven is rejoicing for just that one soul.
I was asked by a company to do secretary training last week or so. And the opportunity to be yourself in who you are in ministry, it was an amazing thing. And I mean, you know, corporate, because you now have to balance yourself from being a mouthpiece of God, a TV host, a sister, you know, in different
and a child at home,
and, you know, so now you're in a corporate environment. So how do you break that? Because this thing of me, of being God's mouthpiece, that I'm humbly and honored to be his vessel, it goes everywhere with me. So if God wants to drop that unction on me at that point in time to release, he'll do it. I can't hold back because I will have no sleep at all. So when I was speaking to them, it was such a nice interaction because luckily I was already interceding, saying that, you know, they are in the corporate environment, but I was asking God, are some of them, is it what they are chosen to do?
Yes.
Are they meant to be these things? So when I was talking to them, I'm like, you must make sure if this is what you want.
Yeah. In fact, it's like you just read my mind. I was reflecting, we just recently, we were launching our inaugural Bio-Africa convention, which was a big convention in our bioscience space and also for the African continent. So as we were planning, you know, because it was a big event, it was the first time, so I could see there was a lot of pressure building. So sometimes when there are those pressures, you kind of really see the true characters of the people. So through that process, I was like, no man, something is not right. People are sick. Because you see, you know, some people when they're under pressure, you could see even how they vent that this is not because of what we're dealing with now. There's something else in the background. So in my spirit, I was like, no. We used to have in my workplace, as women who are born again, we used to have lunchtime prayers. I guess because of different challenges that prayer setting kind of was diffused. So I was like, no, we need to revive those prayers. Because as I was engaging with these people, some, you know, you kind of want to put now the office cap on the side to say, look, can we talk woman to woman? Can I pray with you on these areas? Because you could see, no man, people, they need God.
They really need God, and it's so, in this environment.
Yes. So I think I do agree with you. I really share those and to say, as a woman in the corporate, you don't just put on the corporate cap, but you're still a spiritual being. People still need to see the love of God through you. You still need to also let the light shine in the work environment and maintain that balance. Yes, obviously you don't want to kind of, because sometimes we are tempted to miss that the line where the corporate environment and now the ministry, but doing it in such a professional way that while you're busy doing your day-to-day business, but people, they still see God in you. People, they still see someone they can go consult with when they are in challenges, you see. So we do have those kind of programs, and I'm really sure. I was in fact telling my colleague a few days ago to say, look, we need to go back to those prayers, and not only for ourselves but for the people that we are serving with, because there's so much people that are going through, and sometimes they won't even need us to minister to them, but just that prayer point where they see a miracle or they see a change through your prayers, they can just be won to God.
Like literally, because that's what I was saying. I was saying to these ladies in the secretary, and I was like, you know, I end up you end up praying. I end up praying, and I said, is it okay? Is there anyone against praying?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be insensitive or to offend.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's all good. Yeah. Because I said, you'll need to pray for your bosses.
Yeah.
You'll need to get into that space, because these are the people that you work with every day.
It's true.
And you could pick up each and everyone's energy. Mm-hmm. I kid you not, before even I was even saying to my colleague Shoni that, hey, my stomach is running.
Yeah.
Something is about to
burst. Yeah.
Something is about to burst.
And sometimes we contain us, okay, maybe let's finish the workshop. Afterwards, we'll take it offline.
We'll take it offline. And I promise you, I finished it quickly, and then I prayed, and I'm like, I felt like, yeah, someone is about to get under the table here, and there's no, like, because you could feel the heat, because you are feeling each and everyone's tension. Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? It's good to be in a field that you are chosen, but are you leading
in that field? Yeah.
Are you leading in that field? Is no point.
Are you even fulfilling what God has called you for?
Or what God has called you for? There's no point being boasting and gloating and say, I am the chosen one. I am but you are not doing anything in that chosen field, because you can be chosen, and at the end of the day, you can be called.
Yeah.
And then you can go move from 1, 2, 3, and then you just there.
Yeah.
Whereby you are being called versus the chosen.
The chosen, yeah.
Because
many are called
and few are chosen.
Yeah.
I always use the example of David. All David's brothers were all standing all prim and proper, but they were not chosen.
Yeah.
The one who minded his own business was chosen. He got called out of the field. And David made sure, even on the day,
he fulfilled
what God has chosen for him to do. So I am very excited to have a person like you that you wanted to do your way, but then God directed you, but He still kept you on the path which He knows that this is what is going to happen. Because not only are you the doctor in this department, in the director in this department, but you are impacting.
Yes.
You're inspiring people. You're inspiring young people. You're inspiring the youth. Because many fall out of universities.
That's true.
They don't even reach honors.
Yeah.
They don't even reach the second year of their
degree,
their first degree or the second year of their degree. They don't. They don't. I must say, I got discouraged when I finished my business management and I went into my national diploma. And I got discouraged in that 3 years because when I flunked two or three subjects, and then I was left with 1 year's module. So I could have finished it in 1 year. They literally turned the whole thing around and wanted me to do all 3 years from scratch. I was like, what?
No ways.
So there wasn't any motivation for me at that point in time. But what I did was I started learning, because marketing is one of my skills. I learned the marketing perspective practically and took their own books and I said I applied it and I'll train myself. But God still remained faithful for me to learn, because I'm a practical person.
Yes.
We know our weaknesses. We know if I have to read something, I get bored very quickly. So
but
I want
your hands,
my skills. So I would read through it, and I would get in the first 4 or 5 lines. I would get, okay, this is what she's about. This is what this thing is about. The rest I don't want to know, because I'm going to lose the whole information.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about memorizing.
It's not about memorizing.
The knowledge that you get
from it. No, that's amazing that this is what you do. Like this whole thing, this whole concept just changed into what is it that you are imparting in the universities. Because you get those assistants, the high level power, but they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. They're not opening up any other doors. And the fact that you've started a ministry is very rare. It's the first time actually that I'm hearing that a doctor has opened up a ministry, for young people to be able to, they get the information about their career direction, which is great.
Yeah.
But they're also getting the information of how they can get into with God.
Yes.
So when things are not going okay, there's a foundation that you have already laid with them, because you know what you have been through.
Yeah.
What are the challenges that you faced throughout the years studying to get into this field?
On the study side, I'll say mostly the first challenge was finances,
All right.
which God opened doors for. Then, as you know, the political dynamics of our country, the racial issue always pops in, the gender issue because you're female. So
you went through the gender.
Yes, I think, as you know, Western Cape is one of the most racial provinces in South Africa. So in the lab obviously we're multinationals, even foreigners from other countries, but you always find that there's certain preferences. And when you kind of scan them, okay, maybe because of my skin color. Anyway, but God always, I think those are some of the things. As you're facing certain challenges, the moment you see God uplifting you, so they try. Obviously, the skin color might work on their favor, but with you, you always see God uplifting you through grace. So for me, in the midst of those racial segregation, in the midst of those gender segregation, I always saw God uplifting me. I remember at some point I got an opportunity to go present my studies overseas in the US. So I did not have funds. So I tried and I applied. I got this conference where they were sponsoring students. So I went to my professor. I was informing him of the situation. So they're like, no, even if they're funding you, but they're not funding you the entire conference. By the grace of God, I went to the dean. The dean fortunately agreed to sponsor for part of mine. And I got that opportunity to travel, and more opportunities to travel came true. So sometimes even when finances are not an issue, there'll always be something, a struggle. At some point, my research was not progressing, and at PhD level, 3 years with no progress. It was really a drawback for me. But by the grace of God, I pushed through. I think most of what you'll probably show me, she says she wants to read my thesis, most of what you'll read there is probably what I compiled in 1 year. After 3 years of struggle. So there are such things as well, because research is research. You are exploring something that has not maybe been explored before, even been discovered before, and maybe you thought, okay, my research will go to the left, and then research decides to go to the right. So you didn't plan for the right turn. You have to find a way of how to progress even in such situation. Yeah. And it can be very discouraging because, especially as I was telling you, I was also in the leadership. So there's a lot of young people also at varsity who are looking up, wow, you're doing doctorate. So you're thinking, should I just quit this? And I'm thinking, when you look back, there's so much, people are already applauding you. So quitting was also not a challenge. I had to push, I had to persevere for the sake of those. That way,
because I always say they're riding on that energy
exactly
that you put
out. In fact, it's so amazing. Not so long ago, I received a call from one of my sisters from varsity. So she was consulting on whether she was considering changing a career path into the medical science. So I was like thinking, wow, what a bold step, because she finished, I think she was in a commerce space, she finished the degrees in the commerce space, and she's like, this is what I always wanted to do. But I think the time at the then did not allow her. So, and she kept on to say, how you encourage us to doing your PhD, seeing you being young and being the light. So for me, it was like, thank you, Lord, because if after so many years, there are still people who can still come to you and tell them what an inspiration you've been to them after all this, it can only be God. So in the midst of those challenges, you had such people. And even today, I'm still charged to even do more, even though I see that at least there's a little contribution I've made, but there's always that thing, what about the child next door? What about that other one? Maybe try harder. Maybe there's still more people who still want to see more out of you, or still need to receive more of you. So you do face those challenges, and even with the community projects that I'm doing, as you know, you cannot be in Gauteng and think that you'll do a project successfully in the Eastern Cape. It's not possible. You need people on the ground. You need the financial support. You need people who can win or at least grasp the vision and run with it with you. So those are some of the challenges one face, and it's unfortunate sometimes people, they always look at what they can benefit. If there's nothing that will benefit you on my project, you don't see the need to come support. There's still those pull him down syndrome that we're facing as Black people. So sometimes they not only inconvenience you as the visionary, but even the community that's supposed to benefit. Because if I can tell you, for example, the natural resources we have back home, but the level of poverty still, it doesn't make sense. People, when they come from Joburg, they go home, they're like, guys, what are you doing in Gauteng? You have such a great land, you have such a fertile land. Why are you not being productive? Why are you not working the land? And I think we're not just sitting, we're trying, but there are still those hurdles. So sometimes there are those financial challenges, there are those political dynamics, there are also some of the social barriers, because the truth is, as young as I am, and as much as I'm ambitious about the things I want to do, I also need to maintain a living. And also that maintaining a living still need the same body to go to work and do the job day to day.
Tell me about it.
You see? Yet the passion is there. So I'm that kind of a person to say, look, while I'm also pursuing the career, let me not forget. Let me try at least my level best with the grace and the strength that God has given me. Let me try my best. I'll fail where I'm failing and I'll win where I'm winning. But I believe that as long as God is even creating platforms like this to come and tell the word and share with the word what is you are doing and what can be done, it's also, I believe, one of the platforms God is, to me, encouraging me to say, look, you're on the right path.
And you are.
You're on the right path. Continue. Don't give up. Be courageous. Yeah.
No, you are. No, that's, you know what, I am inspired by your journey, especially what's making me more bubble is the fact that what you impart in what you've received from above, you're imparting, you're not holding it from yourself. Imagine, like, literally you would have been swelled up, because they always say, when you die empty, because you've loved, you've taken out more. So in this way where you are going, I can really see that you are about to start your own foundations, because that what God is literally start your own foundations, your own, because everything is putting together. And when everything is done, the foundation you will end up starting is that you will end up starting it from like back at home, moving out to Johannesburg and moving throughout, because you have the opportunity that not many gets in this life.
That's right.
You had the opportunity to see the other side of the world. You had the opportunity whereby he made provision, not for your vision, but for his vision.
And there's greater purpose.
And there's greater purpose. And you're in line with that purpose. Many miss their lives by not understanding their purpose.
Their purpose,
If your purpose is in line, your calling will be in line and with the will of God. There is always a way. No matter who stands in your way. No matter who stands in your way, your purpose will continuously to push, because your purpose.
And you'll never get rest.
You'll never find rest until it's fulfilled. I stepped into my purpose. My life was like this.
A mess,
Lifeline up and down.
Roller coaster.
But now, when I fully accepted and stepped into my purpose, I even said the other day to my mentor, my professor, like, you know what? I can do this. Actually, on Sunday, I said, I can do this every day, all day, because I can see the change that when I stepped into the purpose that God has chosen, not even chosen me to do. And I remain humble under that purpose, because now I'm, when you're blossoming in, your face changes, your skin changes, everything around you changes, because you've stepped into it.
That's right.
Unexpected people will come to you that you don't even know, that will come and bless you, that will come and say this and come and say that.
And you think you're just minding your business.
You just
when it comes. Please come to the studio.
That's what I love about my colleague. Like, she's the bomb.com. I said to her, like, guys, by the way, she's the one that touched our faces. Like, just look at us nicely, touch awareness. No, but
Let's
honestly,
bless God for her.
I really thank God for her, because that's what God does. He aligns you with
The
people,
destiny
the destiny helpers,
destiny
and destiny
connectors,
connectors.
yeah.
I
Destiny
always say to her, she's an
propellers.
activator, because when my energy is not, she can pick me quickly up and say, "Hey, be picked
Because
up."
as a person, you also have your lows and your highs.
Yes.
And it at times like those in your lows where you need to get people who are aligned with your vision to know, okay, she's drowning now, let me lift her up. You know, not just by words to say, my sister, I'm praying for you, but they are there literally.
Literally doing
The things that you couldn't do with your extra hands, your extra feet.
That's
you know,
it.
they are there running with you. It's
And that's
amazing.
that's amazing thing. That's why when I know when I go into ministry, I know that my brand is in safe hands.
Yeah.
And when I get back from it, I recap. I don't need to stress. I don't need to worry. Like I know, because now I can do the ministry work. I can do my show, stress-free level. I can do when sometimes when
Have
it gets
that balance
have
life.
that balance, and now the balanced life is falling nicely into place because
the people God has connected,
and the purpose. Not only the people, but the purpose has been it's been accepted
Fulfilled,
and it's been fulfilled. When purpose gets the notification, when the atmosphere of purpose gets notification that purpose says I'm being accepted,
Yes.
then purpose will make sure that you are well taken care of.
Prophetess, you're reminding me now as you're talking of the story we learn in the Bible of Yona, that God was sending her somewhere else and then she decided to go elsewhere. And even that, things were turbulent in the journey because he was running away from that purpose of God. So it is, you say it's like that because we're running away sometimes from what God is directing us, and things becomes haywire. But the moment you say, Lord, I accept, use me as you please, use me as you will, and things just start falling to place, the pieces of the puzzles start falling, every resource you needed. If you need money here, someone just decides to come from nowhere and monies are made available. So it's true.
I've experienced that. I've experienced that. I'm still experiencing it, and I thank God for it. So in closing, if someone wants to get into the field that you are currently in, two things. What are the steps that they need to take? The challenges that they're currently facing, how can you advise a young person or that's currently going through this, and someone that wants to get into it?
Yeah.
Because you find those that wants to, I want to be Dr. Mang, and what, but then now they get into it and now they are bored.
I think I'll advise people who want to get into them, maybe someone who wants to be a doctor, to say how to get there. Firstly, you need to understand what exactly you want. What are your passion? What are you passionate about? Because I think when I started, I was like, no, I'm not a people's person. I just want to be by myself in the lab. Because in the lab, no one is sick, no emotions. You're just dealing with your bugs and your samples. That's it. And you'll just find fulfillment in seeing what I'm mixing is working out fine. But you find someone else who's a person wants to be there, who wants to see people being healed. So you'll probably have to follow a medical field where you are a medical or general practitioner. But in this space, because you're not dealing with people, it's kind of a diverse environment. You get scientists who are in the lab, who are doing research. It could be medical research. Are you the one
that's in the lab?
I'm not in the lab. I'm in the governance space. I'm going to try to break it down. So those who want to be researchers with the white coats in the labs, with all the fancy things, you see when we see on TV, maybe there's an outbreak of a disease, they'll go there, take samples, make vaccines for that outbreak. So those are the ones maybe who are more interested in the research side of it. Then there's a regulation side of it. For example, there's a new drug that has been introduced. How do we make sure that people after maybe 2 years of consuming this drug, they won't get sick and die? I'm sure you've heard on the news about lawsuits, about certain medication. People will use it and then they react, maybe they passed on. So there's also a regulation side, mostly the Department of Health and their entities, medical, I think, control council, where then they regulate to say, okay, when this drug was formulated, this and this this kind of chemicals were used, this formulation was used, this kind of content, so that there are no toxic effects that may lead to fatalities. And then there's also the governance side. For example, the way I'm at, we're on the research support. So what we do as government, we fund research. So we'll identify maybe specific areas according to the government priorities, where we can then pump in funds for the researchers to do the science that they do. It could be on human sciences, it could be on animal sciences, it could be just general the environment. For example, the waste that we get from maybe industries or domestic waste, it needs to end somewhere. So how do we ensure that the waste that we generate, it doesn't cause harm to the environment? How do we ensure that it doesn't pollute the water that we drink? We then have to have scientists that are able to separate the waste and be able to purify the very same water. You know, the water drainage that we use, it goes back to be recycled and purified and cleaned up back into the system. And we can take part of that waste, we process it into manure that goes to the agricultural space. So that way we're creating a balance in the environment such that we can still be able to use that waste to produce the vegetables or the food that we have. And then some of the, for example, plastics now, they are being recycled. So that there's not so much waste in the environment that we can't even breathe. For example, we have cars that are polluting emissions. So how to ensure that those carbon emissions are in such a way that they can still be maintained, that we are able to breathe fresh air, you see. So there's those kind of dynamics. Others, it could be science communication.
Okay.
You might find people who are doing what we're doing, they just communicate, the scientists in South Africa, they've produced ABC in the media space where they profile the good science that we are supporting. So there are those various ways. So you can study either up to PhD level or even mix your science with maybe business, because at the end of the day, the science that we produce needs to be commercialized. So we need also scientists who have a business acumen. Like I was telling you earlier that just finished my MBA studies, so that part of my passion is also to venture into business. So I have the science component well and sorted, but how then do I balance that with the business side so that I'm able to take the technologies that are supported into the market, not just in South Africa, but Africa in general, and also in the global community. So career paths are very broad, and I am willing to share my contact details. Maybe if people they want more detailed information, I'm willing to connect them with the different agencies. We have different agencies in the department that are supporting us in terms of the science communication, in terms of different programs on the different career path that people can pursue.
Awesome. No, you're doing I promise you're doing an amazing job. And I pray God grants me the grace.
Grant a lot.
I still believe to have that stunning energy. But we're not all for that.
It's not even about starting,
But you know that drive to continuously to be able to be reading up things and to be making sure that you are theory and all in one in part. Because like I said, I'm a practical person. I think my energy is so hectic. Like I move even in my speech sometimes because I'm very excited. I'm a very excited person, so it moves with that. But I must say that I thank God for the gift He's given you, the drive that He has given you. You know, the drive not only for yourself, but the drive for the others, so that they can learn from you. And I'm sure even women that's in this field, and I thank you for sharing what if they want to get into this type of field and making it literally clear that this field is not it's broad. It's broad, so you have to be very careful.
In fact, you can even create a niche, because I always tell people, look into environment. What are the things that you think? Okay, the challenges we have in our social economic space. What is it that you think is a challenge? Because that challenge could be a business opportunity for you. Then instead of doing things the way we were told by our grandpas and our mothers, let's redefine things. Let's recreate even knowledge. There's this term now of decolonizing the education. Sometimes we need to unlearn certain things that we've learned so that we create new opportunities, so that we create new ventures, even new paths. Maybe there's a certain way of even just the new opportunities just capturing these videos, you see that we haven't learned, that maybe someone needs to apply their mind to it. So sometimes we need to break this mentality that no, you need to go to university, do ABCD degrees. No, sometimes you need to create knowledge from our own settings, our own homes.
And the globe is changing.
It's changing. And the solutions need to be coming not just from the West, but even Africa.
Yes.
Needs to be a platform where people innovate, where people come up with ideas that America or Europe never thought of.
And I think when Africa takes its position by being activated to implement the ideas that they know that are unique, the West will be wiped out, because Africa is the favorite continent.
We are a market on ourselves.
Yes. And I mean, people come from, they don't think we've got dams or whatever, when people from abroad. So when they come here, they're amazed to see that the same thing that they have, we have on this side. It's just we implement and we do it on a different level.
But I'm currently reading a book that says The Capitalist Nigger, which really challenges us as Africans, because it says we are such consumers. Everything we never release to the world, but we just want to absorb and consume. He's asking, what is it unique about Americans? What is unique about the Jews? What is unique about Europe that they are able to produce and manufacture all that they're manufacturing? We drive the best cars, but how many cars can you tell me now that they've been manufactured and assembled in Africa? But all the expensive things we consume, we have the natural resources. We take them to the outside world and then they process and we buy them more. That needs to stop.
No, this was a very exciting interview that we just done, and I'm very happy that you took the time to come through. And I know for a fact that there's so many things that will be unpacked from this journey. And I'm sure in the next few months or so, we'll call you again and say, Doctor, let's do a round 2.
Yes,
because there's more that you would want to, pack in. Where can our viewers get hold of you, your social media platforms and so forth?
I'm available on Twitter, I'm available on Instagram, and I'm available on Facebook. On Facebook, Ncebakazi Enoch. I think on Twitter, I'm Galada. On Instagram, I'm Ncebza. So people can just follow me and they can DM me and ask any questions that they would like to ask. Even on our page, they can drop some question. I'll be following you, and I'm readily available to answer any questions.
Because it's utmost important that our young people must get directed in their career decisions.
I'm also available, flexible to be part of their programs if they feel that they want one-on-one sessions where they can engage me with their audience to answer this kind of questions or to encourage the youth. I'm available.
Awesome stuff. No, thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, Carol, for the opportunity.
It was an amazing education, and from my side as well, to know more what's happening in the fields and different types of departments that the person can get into. And I'm sure my sister will be very excited because she's one of these things. She's passionate about these type of things because she's in the psychology department, but she understands this environment because she's always willing to equip herself wherever she needs to be in. So she says, you never know what happens, so I need to make sure I'm pumped up.
No, there's so much to learn.
There's so much. There is really. But that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
There you have it, straight from the doctor, explaining the different types of field that we can get into as women, not only as women, but as men as well. Thank you so much for joining me, your host on Divine Woman Empowerment Inspirational Talk. I'm Carol on our favorite TV channel, which is Global Conference Television. Please do stay tuned every Wednesday on 8 o'clock in the morning. We are live on YouTube. And if you want to catch us on our social media, we at Divine Empower on Twitter. On Facebook, we at Divine Woman Empowerment, as well also on Instagram. We at Divine Woman Empowerment. Until next time, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock, stay tuned. Cheers.
Thank you.